Hello everyone, thanks so much for all the support with all of my videos. Today I want to speak about the visit by Keir Starmer, British Prime Minister, to Ireland yesterday. He met Simon Harris at Farmley and went for a nice pleasant walk around the gardens before he attended the Ireland versus England football match at Lansdowne Road yesterday. Now, Keir Starmer, we know, has been pushing this narrative towards more war in Ukraine. We saw in the last number of weeks, we've seen the attacks and incursions into Russia, all facilitated of course by Britain as a fully signed up member of NATO, and now he's fully intent on dragging Ireland towards NATO, ably abetted by Simon Harris, who's not really kicking and screaming as we're dragging towards NATO. He's just a yes man for the globalists and the elites and the warmongers we have in Europe, such as Ursula von der Leyen. They spoke about this ambitious reset. Now, what does this mean in practice? Of course, they wouldn't go into much detail on it, but we've seen that the push towards a green and digital transition. It's not interesting. The statement that came out from their meeting yesterday was talking about this green and digital transition, moving towards the digitalisation of ITE. We've seen that obviously the move across the European Union that Starmer is fully intent on getting back on board with, in terms of the digital currency as well, that they're moving towards the digital euro. And also they spoke about coordinating their plans on cybersecurity and marine security, coincidentally. This again is another push towards an erosion of Irish neutrality. And Simon Harris is just a complete lapdog to any leader that comes to Ireland, and in particular Starmer, who himself has backtracked on a lot of his election promises in England. Most notably, we've seen the huge pushback because of the cuts to the fuel allowance, which is driving more people into poverty. Of course, when he shot to power a few months ago, he claimed that he would be a party for everybody and a party for, in particular, for the working class. But we know that Starmer is the furthest thing from support of the working class as any recent Labour Party leader. Tony Blair springs to mind as he's dragging us towards more militarism and war, and not to mention what he's done across Britain in terms of attacking journalists and jailing journalists, protesters, and we've seen that in concert with what's happening in Ireland in terms of the hate speech legislation they're trying to push forward here in Ireland. And it's interesting because Harris spoke about the universal and support across both countries for the United Nations commitment and the EU Convention on Human Rights, and the struggle for justice and the rule of law. Make of that what you will. I think it's pretty clear reading between the lines what their agenda is. And they also spoke about strengthening the Northern Irish institutions in terms of the executive installments and working towards peace and prosperity as well, all backed up by the European Union and the US interests. Surprise, surprise, more neoliberal capitalism is being foisted upon the people of the north of Ireland. And also they spoke about trade. This is what all comes down to, the free marketeers. And Harris spoke about the uniquely close relationship between the countries, and also about the fact that they are friends and they're looking out to push forward more leader meetings, which are going to come up, I think, on an annual basis starting in March, and they're due to meet the United Nations soon, and also at a couple of more meetings across Europe, I think before Christmas as well. But when they met yesterday, they met actually with representatives of the business industries in Ireland as well, such as the Irish Business Employers Confederation, who have been pushing against increasing the minimum wage and also been doing the bidding for the big bosses in society. They also met financial powerhouses yesterday in their meeting at Farmley, and also with representatives from big multinationals such as Accenture. Surprise, surprise. But of course Starmer then got his junket to go to Lansdowne Road to be feted by the Irish political establishment and Simon Harris, who's just a complete yes man and a stooge for the European bureaucrats as well. all complete yes men for WEF, for the European Union, and for the interests of the big, rich and powerful in society. Not to mention dragging us towards World War in terms of what's happening with NATO. And again, they repeated the narrative about Ukraine to say they will support it as long as it takes. So that's to sum up the visit of Starmer yesterday to Ireland. And nothing new to see with all this sort of nonsense coming from Simon Harris again. It's what we've come to expect from Simon Harris and his government, who are just complete lapdogs for their masters in Brussels, their masters across the water in London, by bowing down to Keir Starmer yesterday. Starmer himself, who's no friend of the working class, much the same as Simon Harris there. So they have quite in common in terms of their policies, their neoliberal policies, their policies of destruction, their policies of moving towards more war, their policies of supporting the globalists, rather than supporting the interests of ordinary people who are struggling in their countries, such as what's happening here with the housing, homelessness disaster, the health disaster, and many more social crises we have as well, much the same as what they have across in Britain also as well. So thanks for joining me today in my videos. Please press subscribe if you like my videos, and to get notified when my videos come up on YouTube. Thanks for the support. Take care. So long.